Well, good morning. Welcome back to Pyjama Preaching. Normal services have now been resumed following our Advent, Longing, Waiting, Believing daily study. So we're back to now Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So this is Friday, the 8th of January. Epiphany's over. We now move back to kind of normal, but of course we're in lockdown 3 and it's all a bit different yet again. Rather than going straight back into the conclusion of Mark's Gospel, I just wanted to tell you a few stories over a few days, just sort of let us in gently. I've already tried to recall this once, and the darn phone rang, and it was a scam call from someone purported to be Amazon, telling me that my $39 is going to go out of my account and to press 1 if I want to speak to somebody. Just watch out if you're getting these calls. They're scammers. Oh, horrible, horrible people and really annoying. So anyway, that's my moan of the day. Here's a story all about a teacup. There was a couple once who used to go to England to shop in the beautiful stores. They both liked antiques and pottery, and especially teacups. This was their 25th wedding anniversary. One day in this beautiful shop, they saw a beautiful cup. They said, "May we see that? We've never seen one quite so beautiful." As the lady handed it to them, suddenly the cup spoke. "You don't understand," it said. "I haven't always been a teacup. There was a time when I was red, and I was clay. My master took me, rolled me, patted me over and over, and I yelled out, 'Let me alone!' But he only smiled and said, 'Not yet.' Then I was placed on a spinning wheel," the cup said, "and I was spun around and around and around. 'Stop it, I'm getting dizzy. I'm feeling sick,' I screamed, but the master only nodded and said, 'Not yet.' Then he put me in the oven. I never felt such heat," the teacup said, "and I wondered why he wanted to burn me. And I yelled and knocked at the door, and I could see him through the opening, and I could read his lips as he shook his head and said, 'Not yet.' Finally, the door opened, and he put me on a shelf, and I began to cool. 'Phew, that's better,' I said. And he brushed and painted me all over. The fumes were horrible, and I thought I was going to gag. 'Stop it,' I cried. But he only nodded, 'Not yet.' Then suddenly he put me back in the oven. Not like the first one, this was twice as hot, and I knew I was going to suffocate. I begged, I pleaded, I screamed, I cried. All the time I could see him through the opening, nodding his head and saying, 'Not yet.' Then I knew there wasn't any hope. I'd never make it. I was ready to give up. But the door opened, and he took me out and placed me on the shelf. 1 hour later, he handed me a mirror and said, 'Look at yourself.' And I did, and I said, 'That's not me. That couldn't be me. It's beautiful. I'm beautiful.' 'I want you to remember then,' he said. 'I know it hurts to be rolled and patted, but if I left you alone, you would have dried up. I know it made you dizzy to spin around on the wheel, but if I'd stopped, you would have crumbled. I knew it hurt and was hot and disagreeable in the oven, but if I hadn't put you in there, you would have cracked. And I know the fumes were bad when I brushed and painted you all over, but if I hadn't done that, you never would have hardened, and you wouldn't have had any colour in your life. And if I hadn't put you back that second time in the second oven, you wouldn't have survived for very long because the hardness would have worn out.'" And having dropped the sheet of paper, "But now you are the finished product. You are what I had in mind when I first began with you." So that's an author unknown, but I thought it was a lovely story. And there's some lessons to come from this. The story is based upon Jeremiah chapter 18. And it says this: "The word which came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, 'Arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I shall announce my words to you.' Then I went down to the potter's house. There he was, making something on the wheel. But the vessel that he was making of clay was spoiled in the hand of the potter, so he remade it into another vessel, as it pleased the potter to make. Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Can I not, O house of Israel, deal with you as this potter does, declares the Lord. Behold, like the clay in the potter's hand, so are you in my hand, O house of Israel. So what's the moral of the story? And this in the light of COVID and lockdown and all of that stuff. God knows what he's doing for all of us. He is the potter and we are his clay. He will mould us and he will make us so that we may be made into a flawless piece of work to fulfill his good, pleasing and perfect will. So may that teacup story become our story as we willingly yield to our potter's hand. So may we trust in God throughout all of the adversities that are being thrown at us, all of the anxiety that we have, all of the fear. Let us know that we can trust in God. Amen.